ज्योति स्टेनो टाइपिंग कॉलेज में आप सभी का स्वागत है बच्चों। ये आपकी डिक्टेशन नंबर है 112। इसको पहले अच्छे से लिखेंगे, उसके बाद जो है वेबसाइट पे इसको लगा रखा है, इसको टाइप कर देंगे। एक बार मैं चेक कर लेता हूँ कहीं कुछ गड़बड़ तो नहीं हो गई है। यही है। डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट आफ्टर 5 सेकेंड। Sir, in this country we cannot be handmaid to the communist method of working. We are having our own measures, and the difficulty of implementing these measures is also felt by the government. I do not think that the government's viewpoint is wrong. Government is holding the balance even and is looking to the interests of the agricultural labor also. It is a welcome measure, but where the application of the measure is called for there alone, it should be applied. Otherwise, its misapplication will create more dangers and will disturb our economy and will also give a handle to the agitators to create disturbances, dangers, and will disturb our economy and will also give a handle to the agitators to create disturbances among the several thousand individual cultivators who employ casual labor. I say this is from my experience of rural life since I live among the cultivators and I practically work with them and supervise the work on the field. I am a smallholder and I know the difficulties of cultivators. So the question is this may be a welcome measure for application where we have got say for 100 laborers working in a group, but where we have got scattered labor, this is not suitable for application. How are we going to apply this measure to a person who holds only 10 acres of land of less, who has to employ casual labor and who pays the labor at present partly in cash and partly in kind to pay that labor a minimum wage hereafter? Sir, agricultural economy adjusts itself to the circumstances. Where there is intensive farming, where there is cash crop, their labor is difficult to get even if 1 rupee were the minimum wage. There are certain villages in my district, a district which is considered one of the foremost districts in agricultural production and where we produce money crops like banana. There we do not get daily rated labor even at rupees 2 a day. So agricultural economy adjusts itself on the principle of demand and supply, but where the agriculturist is entirely dependent on the monsoon rains for cultivation, it is rather hazardous at this stage to apply this measure to agricultural labor all over, and I think the government will go a little casually in this behalf in solving this problem quickly. Government will be creating another problem for itself if agricultural labor is guaranteed a minimum wage. I have no quarrel over somebody who is not placed in a good position in getting more, but the question is whether the producer or the cultivator, the small man who is required to employ labor, is in a position to pay the prescribed minimum wage, and if he is not, then our food production, our entire agricultural production will suffer, and if food production suffers, if he is required to pay the minimum wage, then we are asking him to increase the prices of food grains. I only want to suggest that the act should be applied in such a manner that cultivators are not harassed, but where there is difficulty in applying it to an individual holder or a cultivator, there it should not be hastened and its application should be delayed. This is my humble suggestion. Now, as far as the problem of agricultural production is concerned, India still needs vast irrigation facilities. India's agricultural population gets only 16 to 17% of irrigation. In some of the states which are industrially developed like Bombay, we have got only 6% irrigation, and the target aimed at the end of the second 5-year plan was only 8%. Such is our overall dependence of agricultural production on monsoon, and this clearly shows that agriculture is still a gamble in the hands of nature. When such is the case, when production is uncertain, how far is it desirable to apply the minimum wages act in agricultural sector, where the dependence on the monsoon is not relieved adequately and where the irrigation facilities are not on a adequate scale? I leave the matter to the government to judge. When there is intensive cultivation, there the individual agriculturist is not required to adjust his relations with the laborer. The laborer comes only when the cultivator pays him more. There the natural law of demand and supply works. In the application of this act to agriculture, the government has felt the difficulty. They could not implement that desire. They could not devise the machinery which could take up the work of applying the law to the agricultural labor. That difficulty will not in any way be lessened or mitigated even if the period is expanded up to December. So my suggestion in this behalf is that serious thought should be examined thoroughly by weighing the pros and cons of the matter and seeing how Indian agriculture still depends upon the individual cultivators and how the individual cultivator will face the difficulty that will have to be realized, and if somebody wants to upset our economy and if somebody wants to drive the cultivators against their will to take to collectivization, then the matter is different. Even to this day, cooperative farming still remains a dream. The question whether an element of gentle compulsion can be introduced to organize the people compulsorily in cooperative farming is still to be faced in this country, and there is divergence of opinion on this point because one of the members of our Chinese delegation is in favor of introducing cooperative farming, by compulsion on China model. Even compulsory cooperative farming is not going to be successful method of agriculture in this country, much less collectivization where individual ownership is lost. We are not certainly driving our cultivators to collective farming by force. Agriculturists under the cooperative farming by force has been unsuccessful in communist countries. There they have driven out the petty landlords or they are taken over much against their will or their desire to take to collective farming. इस क्लास में इतना ही बच्चों, नमस्कार बच्चों।